H.H. Holmes was well on his way to being a criminal mastermind. In fact, the guy was downright diabolical, and the finishing of his murder hotel only made it easier for him to kill. Welcome back to part 2 of the H.H. Holmes story. Hey guys, what's up? It's me again. Here is Shanae. Welcome back to another Ghost Stories and Makeup and part 2 of the H.H. Holmes story. Don't forget to click like and click subscribe so that you don't miss any videos in the future. So the thing about H.H. Holmes' castle is that from the outside, it really wasn't that frightening. See, Holmes was a pretty smart guy, so what he did was put storefronts on the bottom floor of his castle. Then, of course, he would find some ladies easy to dupe, and poof, murder victims. Let's maybe talk a little more in depth about that. So Holmes took an employee named Julia Connor to work at the jewelry counter on his first floor storefront. Now, Julia had a little girl named Pearl, but she was also kind of sort of married. But we all know by now that Holmes isn't exactly concerned about how sacred wedding vows are. However, Julia's husband found out about the affair between her and H.H. Holmes, which caused him to sort of split. He left Julia and Pearl with Holmes, residing inside the castle, which all seemed well and good, except by December of 1892, Julia and Pearl both went missing. And Holmes, that sneaky sneak that he was, told authorities that she had died during an abortion. Now, whether that's true or not is totally up in the air. However, I find it a little ironic that shortly after Julia and Pearl went missing, skeletons were sold by Holmes to a medical school. Like, oh yeah, that's not suspicious at all. Hey guys, you want to buy some skeletons? I just randomly found them. Now, in May of 1892, Holmes employed another woman named Emmeline Sagrande. Emmeline, unfortunately, disappeared the following December when Holmes coaxed her into a giant safe, locked her in, and let her suffocate to death. Now, clearly, Holmesy is one stand-up guy, right? And since Holmes couldn't get enough of the women, he met a Fort Worth socialite in 1893 whom was kind of too easy to dupe. See, Holmes convinced the socialite named Minnie to sign over some land that she had in Fort Worth to one of his aliases. Then he signed it over to his partner in crime, leaving himself the ability to have access to her land and money. Now, it's not like Minnie was sort of like the others where nobody knew where she was or who she was with, because actually Minnie's sister Annie came to Chicago from Fort Worth for a visit. Now, while Annie was visiting in July, they had written their aunt to tell her that they were going to be coming to visit. However, nobody heard from Minnie or Annie after July 5th. So within 3 months of meeting Holmes, Annie and Minnie both. And now, by now, it's no secret that old Mr. Holmes liked the female company better. He did find himself a male counterpart. See, Holmes picked up Benjamin Pitezel, who was a construction worker at the castle, but also had a pretty long criminal history, and the two kind of meshed themselves together and started using their combined forces to commit insurance fraud. Unfortunately for Pitezel, that is going to be the worst mistake he has ever made. I slept for 4 hours last night and I'm literally running on caffeine and stupidity. Now, as if Holmes needed the ability to find any more victims, Chicago was chosen to host the World's Fair in 1893. And it turns out that hosting the World's Fair ended up being super convenient for H.H. Holmes. See, at the turn of the century, people weren't like in constant contact like we are now. It's not like I could just hop on my celly and be like, hey, I'm in Chicago at the World's Fair and I just met H.H. Holmes. Seems like a nice guy. In fact, phones in general just weren't that widely available back then. And so people would get to Chicago, and of course their relatives knew that they were going to Chicago. But once they were there, they had no idea who they were staying with, who they were interacting with, if they were safe, if they were coming home. I mean, shit was up in the air back then. And of course, diabolical as he was, Holmes took all of that into consideration. What Holmes did was go around the World's Fair and use his charisma, his good looks, his amiable attitude, and lured people to stay at his hotel. Unfortunately for those people, a lot of folks who went in didn't come back out. And now, like, as I mentioned before, the bottom part of the building was a bunch of storefronts. But the upper levels contained Holmes' office and about 100 living quarters. But see, the thing about H.H. Holmes' castle is that the devil was, well, in the details. And what made the place so dangerous was the stuff that you just couldn't see. But how bad was it? I mean, it wasn't a torture chamber, was it? Yeah, it kind of was. See, Holmes made some of those 100 living quarters soundproof. They were also conveniently equipped with gas lines so that he could turn on gas to light lights and basically suffocate or asphyxiate his victims to death right in the room where they were staying. But wait, the torture chamber rooms aren't the only thing that Holmes planted inside the building, because the place was also equipped with trapdoors, lots and lots of peepholes, stairs and doorways that led to nowhere, and even chutes from the rooms to the basement so that he could conveniently dispose of bodies. Of course, the basement itself was kind of like the seventh circle of hell. That place was basically a dungeon / torture chamber / mad scientist lab. It was fully equipped with a dissecting table and even a medieval torture device like stretcher. Oh, it also had a crematory because, you know, people who aren't guilty of anything always need those. So once Holmes got a body into the basement, he really liked to play doctor and dissect it. Sometimes doing that would even involve ripping the skin off of the skeleton and then cremating it so that he could sell the skeleton to local schools. Really? That doesn't sound like our guy's MO. That doesn't make any sense at all. I'm so confused. Now, sometimes Holmes just liked to kill, so he would take a body down to the basement and just cremate it or dump it into a vat of acid. I did mention the vats of acid, right? Of course, the truly sad thing is that nobody would find any of this out until it was just much, much too late. But, and this is super wild, even though Holmes was busy murdering people at his Chicago castle, he was still traveling back and forth across the country committing insurance scams, which Holmes would eventually transfer back into doing full time once the Chicago World's Fair was over. And unfortunately for Holmes, fortunately for everybody who didn't want to die a horribly gruesome murder, he was about to make some big mistakes. And those mistakes would ultimately lead to him getting caught in Boston. But more about that next episode. For now, if you can spare the time, I'm gonna put on some lashes and I'll be right back with your final look. All right, unicorns, I'm back and this is your final look. Do you like it? I'm loving it. Anyway, guys, I really hope that you had fun on part 2 of the H.H. Holmes story. I hope that you'll come back next time and see me. Don't forget to click like, to to click subscribe. Remember to always love yourselves, always be a unicorn, and I'll see you next time. Bye!